Some people use the word constraints, some people will say rules. There's loads of different words for it, but it's just basically the situations and rules you're putting onto the game for the players. So here's some other ones I've mentioned. I think I've mentioned one of them already, but these are games that you can use just on a normal pitch. So set a normal pitch out, and some of these are slightly different to what I said before. So before, where I've said, don't restrict their decision making, don't say you've got to play 2-touch or anything like that, because that does affect their decisions. Here, I do say that a couple of times, but then this is me changing the rules to get an outcome out of a session. So as long as you can justify it and you understand that I'm losing some realism by putting a rule in that affects players' decision making, that is okay. So passes equal goals doesn't do that. So however many passes you make is how many goals you get. So that's a great little game you can do. Adds a bit more risk versus reward, adds a little bit of pressure. I've shared this slide before, I've just adapted a little bit of it. So 1v1 dribbling. So whenever you win the ball, you must take a player on before you can pass or shoot. That's also if someone passes you the ball. If someone plays you the ball, you've got to beat someone before you can pass or shoot. This gets players to be a bit more positive when they're playing 1v1. I use this a lot more with younger age groups rather than older, because with younger age groups, I'm using this because I want to improve their confidence to take players on 1v1, and it's getting them to try different things 1v1 and improve their technical stuff. So that's why I use this with younger players. The advantage of it is if you take someone on at right back because you've been passed the ball and you lose the ball, that player that's got the ball off you then needs to beat someone before they can score. You might adapt it so that in the final third, they don't need to if they've just won it, because you want them to transition quickly. But in general, it creates players trying to take players on all the time. So with this, I would do this with smaller numbers, 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, and I would do it with younger age groups because they get lots of repetition at trying to take players on. Another one I've shared before is a high pressing. You split the pitch into thirds like we did before, but we concentrate on defending, and you give points, allocate points to a zone. So if you go, right, if you win the ball in a top zone and score, it's worth 3 goals. If you win it in the middle of the zone and score, it's worth 2, or the bottom zone and score, it's worth 1. That encourages high pressing. If you want to encourage a low block, they win 3 points for winning it in your defensive zone, 2 for midfield, 1 up high. If you're especially getting with adult players and older players, teenagers, and you go, right, we want to encourage our players to win the ball in midfield, so we're going to invite the opponents to play into midfield, then we're going to swarm them, make the middle one worth 3 points. So adjust your rules based on what outcome you're trying to get. 4-touch or 1-touch, loads of you know, is my favorite. You can either play 1-touch. If you can't play 1-touch, you have to have at least 4 touches. So basically what you're saying to players is either play quickly or be composed on the ball. Because if you can't play quickly, you're going to get put under pressure. But I don't mind that if you're comfortable enough on the ball that you keep it. The non-dominant foot game is you can only have 1 touch with your dominant foot each time the ball comes to you. So I'm right-footed. So if the ball comes to me, I can control it with my right foot if I want, but then my dribbles and my pass has got to be with my left foot, or vice versa. I can take all my dribbles, I can control it and take my dribbles with my left foot and shoot with my right if I want. But each time you're in possession, only 1 touch is allowed to be with your dominant foot. And we use dominant and non-dominant rather than strong and weak, just for a little psychological thing for players is, if you say that's your weak foot, it gives the impression that they can't improve it. Whereas actually you have your dominant and non-dominant. 1-touch finish, nice and simple. If someone in your team scores with first time finish, it's worth 3 goals. So that's not, it's got to be a first time finish, but you're rewarded for it. So again, this one doesn't take decision making away, it keeps it realistic. And in a nice counter attack one, if you score with 8 seconds of winning the ball back, it's worth 3 goals. So all of these ideas or rules or constraints you can just do on a normal pitch, whether you're playing 4v4, 5v5, 6v6. It just adds rules to the game that brings a different outcome.